Welcome to Unsportsmanlike Conduct. I'm Tommy Morris and he's Trevor Baru. And we got a whole bunch of awesome topics for you today. An episode, what is this, 8 or 7? 7, right?
I think we're episode 7. We're going to stop counting by episode and just go by date, try to keep it, it's at some point you're not going to be able to keep track because we just providing so much content on a weekly basis.
I know. And the NFL is going away from Roman numerals for this Super Bowl. I think we should start to bring in the Roman numerals for our episodes. So this would be VII, is that right?
Yeah, we'd be at VII right now. The problem is I just don't think that many people still understand Roman numerals. Besides,
no, they don't.
If there weren't Super Bowls, why would you know the Roman numerals?
Because I like to read about old Roman culture.
I somehow find that hard to believe, but we'll stick with that.
The part about me reading, or never mind. Anyway, we got NHL finals, NBA finals, triple stakes finals, or triple crown finals. Totally blew that. And then we
that was a letdown for sure.
It was, and I was using the word finals 3 times, and it was a whole build up, and it just fell right on its face. You know what we figured out today? You should be the one doing all the intros. I think is what we figured out today.
I was trying to give you a shot. It's an equal opportunity organization. Title 9.
And we'll put fortune tellers. So yay, God really did a good job there, Tom. Anyway, we'll jump right onto the ice. NHL finals. Kings and Rangers. Kings took both the games at home in comeback fashion. Trevor, can anything stop Los Angeles?
I don't think anything's going to stop Los Angeles. And last week when we talked about the Kings, there were some pretty crazy stats, like the one where they had already had 2 3-game losing streaks and were still in playoff contention. It was still in contention for the Cup, which I still think that stat will never be broken again. And now another even crazier stat. In the last 3 games, the Kings have won all 3 games, and they haven't led once. So I think that's actually more unfathomable.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, honestly, if I was them, I would just show up and ask the scoreboard operator to throw 2 points on the board for the other team and just go from there because, I don't get it. I mean, you hear all these stats about how hard it is to come back from behind and playoff hockey, especially when you're down by 2 goals, and they do it every single time. It's nuts.
It's making it hard not to root for them, just the fashion they're winning in and the way they're coming back. It's like they really don't care how much they go down. There's never a lack of belief that they can still win. I think it's something to definitely they deserve a lot of credit for is the way they've won these games. I mean, most teams quit when this type of thing happens.
Yeah, I mean, I have a personal bone to pick with them though because at my place of business, I chose to be in charge of that game to clip the highlights for that, and I thought, oh man, I'm gonna get out of here early. This is gonna be sweet. It's gonna be awesome. 2 overtimes. You kidding me? But anyway.
And if you're the Rangers right now, to lose games the way they did those last, it's kind of like the Devils a couple of years ago when the Kings were playing them. They lost the first 2 games in overtime and they never really recovered. And I think a similar thing is going to happen with LA. I mean, I think they're a team of destiny right now. They won their first Stanley Cup as an 8 seed, but this one is just to win from after being down 0-3, and then the way they won the last 2 series and now the first 2 games of this series. Like I think this might go down if they win the Stanley Cup as maybe the best playoff run in the history of every sport. And I know that's pretty out there, but if you think about how they've come back in the last few games and just kind of a microcosm of the whole playoffs, come up with a team that's had anything close.
I can't. We talked about, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, about amazing playoff performances, and I couldn't really compare it to anything, so I have to agree with you on that. Are we ready to go to our second finals?
Yeah, my last point was just going to be, if they were to collapse, that would be almost as remarkable that they could have this type of Stanley Cup run and then just blow it all away. So we'll see. Nice note to end it on.
That's a great note to end it on. I was happy that you did that. Anyway, we'll go from the ice to the hardwood. Also in the finals, though, we got the Miami Heat and the San Antonio Spurs 1-1 in that series.
We had a Chris Bosh sighting. Game 2, Chris Bosh sighting.
You know what? He gets a lot of flack for no reason.
You think for no reason?
Yes.
Have you seen his celebration videos? Have you seen him get have you seen the champagne spraying video on Bosch and then the follow-up last year with the confetti caught in his mouth?
Oh, Trevor, I'm so sorry he's not one of the popular kids who's good at dancing. I'm sorry. You're going to make fun of him? You're going to bully him? You're going to bully him because of that?
That makes no sense at all.
Because you're bullying the guy. I mean, the guy's a good basketball player. He's there to play basketball. He's not there for his celebration dances.
On the court, he definitely doesn't get the respect that he deserves with the Heat, but that's kind of something that I think he knew was coming when he signed on with Wade and LeBron. But I mean, huge shot at the end of Game 2. He even up 1-1. I think this game, when we look back on this series, we'll look back to this Game 2 as a pivotal moment for both teams, because the Spurs go up 2-0. As much as I like LeBron and the Heat in this series, I think there's a very good chance Spurs win, but this win right here is, I think, what could propel the Heat to win the series.
Yeah, and Bosch had a massive dunk too, which I was pretty amped about. I'm rooting for the Heat. I'm just gonna say right now, I'm rooting for the Heat to win this.
It's funny. So, a lot of people are very anti-LeBron, and that, I guess we could kind of, while we're talking about the series, Game 1 with the whole whatever they're gonna call it, Heat Gate or whatever it is, but I don't think that could be an excuse for the Heat, but pretty unprofessional. If you think about it, we're in the year 2014 for a stadium's AC to go out for. This wasn't a 10 or 15 minute type of thing. This is literally for the rest of the game. They couldn't fix it. That sounds a little suspicious to me.
I'm very suspicious. I'm not so sure it wasn't an accident. I mean, you look at the teams. Okay, who has the better bench? The Spurs. So you want to? It seems way too fishy for me. Way too fishy. Moving on to horse racing, California Chrome. Well, actually, I'm gonna ask you honestly. Did you watch a race? I mean, it doesn't really make that much difference.
No, I don't watch. I very rarely watch horse racing, but I watch this thing. I want to it could have been history. I mean, the Triple Crown hasn't happened. What, three decades now? Four? Are we almost pushing 4? No, 3 decades. Correct me.
Yeah, no, I think it's 35, somewhere around there. It's been a while.
So of course I was watching this thing. What was disappointing for me is that I thought for most of the race that the jockey was holding California Crow back, that he was just waiting to make his move, because it seemed like for a while he was sitting in good position kind of on the inside rail around 3rd or 4th. And so I thought he was just kind of, holding him back and then getting ready to let him go on that final turn, and we were going to see history, and then it just never really happened, and it was just it was kind of a tease, and it was definitely a letdown.
It was a little bit of a letdown. I mean, it's a very tough thing to win the Triple Crown, which hasn't happened for so long. But I think the greatest thing, at least from our perspective, and people were trying to talk about in news stories, is what Steve Coburn, the co-owner, said right after. Let me find the exact quote, because it is by far the worst answer to anything I've ever heard in my life. So basically, the reason why he was so upset is because you can run in the 3rd leg of the Triple Crown and not run the first 2. So essentially, any horse that's going for the prestigious Triple Crown has run in the first 2 and is a little bit tired from those first 2 races. They're 5 weeks apart and has to suck that up while the other horses are fresh. We caught up?
I don't know how much you know about horse racing, but do you know how someone qualifies for the Belmont? But
it's points. If you have enough points, you qualify. So basically...
But is it the same for all 3 races, or how does it work?
No, all 3 races are individuals, but they are the 3 best races. So in theory, the best horses are getting invited to all 3, but not all of them do. But they're all their own individual deal.
And I saw, the owner's comments about how unfair it was that, these horses are going through 3 very tough races, and then someone only runs in the final one and beats them. I can't stand behind that argument if since the beginning of time it's always been like this. If that's just the way it is, that's the way it is, and there's been people who have won the Triple Crown before, and that's why it's so hard to win. But it is an interesting point that he brings up, because think about other sports, and you don't have it in basketball where, one team doesn't have to play till the 2nd round or something like that. Or that's not even probably the best analogy we could come up with. But
here's the analogy. Here's the analogy that Coburn tried to use, and I'm just going to read this real quick because that was a perfect segue. Not to cut you off. This might be, in my opinion, probably the worst answer to any question of all time in sports. You ready for this? When he was asked to talk about it, this is what he said, and this was a day later when he had time to think about it and come up with a nice, formidable thing to say. Here's what he said. This is a quote. This is not me just saying stuff. They hold out 2 and then they come back and run 1. That would be like me at 6'2", playing basketball with a kid in a wheelchair. They haven't done anything with their horses in the Triple Crown. You figure it out. You ask yourself, would it be fair if I played basketball with a child in a wheelchair?
See, the thing is here is that I actually agree with a lot of his logic. I mean, it's definitely not probably the best choice of
Maybe the worst choice of words ever.
Yeah. But we're not talking about the choice of words here. We're not talking about what he meant, in the bigger picture. And so I actually could maybe, stand behind his point on this one. My issue is just if this is always the way it's been, then there's lots of other people who've had to gone through this. So you shouldn't be bitching just because your horse couldn't get it done.
No,
but
yeah.
I mean, it is a really interesting point. It's just if that's the way it's always done, you shouldn't be bitching now. It should be a point brought up at a different time.
I think he's got no argument because if every other horse said to do it this way, then that's just how it's done. I'm sorry, man. Like what we have here is we have a 61-year-old guy who's, owned very low price horses. No one really knows who he is. Kind of goes about his own business. Now he's got a camera and a microphone in front of him. And at 61, you probably don't want to hear, you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't say that. And he obviously has no sort of media training whatsoever, and you end up with this. So,
I'm trying to think of like what a good analogy would be in another sport.
Here's a good analogy.
I was thinking maybe golf, but I don't know. It's like someone just play. But it's not as much of an advantage if they just play in one major. It's not. I need a better analogy. What was the analogy you were going to go with?
Well, because the thing is, the horses are a little bit beaten up by the time because they normally don't run that close races schedule-wise. That was a really horrible sentence I just put together. Basically, normally there's more rest time for these horses. So it would be like if you said, okay, you're going to play, this is baseball playoffs. You've got 3 games back-to-back-to-back days. Oh, by the way, you're playing a different team every single game, and they get to use... And they're all fresh. So they get to use their ace pitcher, their whole bullpen's fresh, everyone's ready to go. Whereas you use your ace in the first game, then you got to go to your second guy in the rotation, then the third, and then we don't even know what's going to happen with the bullpen. That would be a fair comparison, I think.
Yeah, I kind of see that, but like that, it just doesn't make complete sense though because both.
Or how about
teams,
this?
Like,
how about this? So let's say it's the NBA Finals.
But see, the reason I'm saying it doesn't make complete sense is because normally every team has to go on the same journey to get to the to get to the final. They all have to play the same amount of games. So that's why I kind of see his point.
Oh,
because
okay.
You could. What I'm saying is you could put a horse in the Belmont just because you think you have the best shot to have it win that grand prize, but you don't have to compete in the others. And that would just be like, what if I guess what I'm saying is, what if there was something other sports competition where, rather than wanting to see him win the championship, they could go for a second or a third prize that was a monetary value but no ring.
How about this? Let me throw this at you. Let me hit you with this knowledge. Now, it's not going to be as good because, unfortunately, the team they're playing has gone through pretty much the exact same thing. But look how many extra games LeBron James and the Heat have had to play over the last 4 years. Excuse me. So they're trying to go for a three-peat, which is a prestigious thing. It's the three-peat. Is it fair that they have to play so many extra games at the end of each season, whereas everyone else is chilling on a beach in Hawaii? Yes, it's fair because you're trying to do something that doesn't normally get done. It's fair.
Yeah. See man. Okay, at the end, if we got to move on in a second because we just have been just twiddling our thumbs over this topic for a little too long. But I'm going to agree with you that it's fair because if you want to be a champion, if you want to achieve one of the most remarkable feats that there is in sports, that you have to endure certain things that are tough, and this is one of them. You have to go up against fresher horses, just like in baseball. I mean, if anyone's ever going to beat Roger Maris's 56 game RBI streak or hitting streak, right?
Right.
It was Roger Maris, right? Or am I wrong again?
I don't know.
No, it wasn't Roger.
I'll look it up right now.
No, this isn't Roger Maris. This is Roger Maris was home runs. How am I forgetting this right now? This is bad.
Is it Lou Gehrig?
Yeah, it's Lou Gehrig. God. Wait, I'm double checking.
I am too.
No, it's DiMaggio.
Joe DiMaggio. Whatever. All the Yankees are all of records. Whatever.
God.
This is not going to bode well for credibility for fortune tellers pretty soon. People are not going to believe that we can see the future. You know what it is? We can see the future, but not the past.
It's just weird how my logic just worked on that. I first picked Roger, I guess the logic on Roger Maris worked better because he was the first one. He was the one who held the home run record for so long. And Lou Gehrig, I don't know where that popped up in your head. Was Lou Gehrig's disease? Lou Gehrig's the movie? You know, like where did that go? Because Joe DiMaggio is the guy. I don't know how that didn't come to our mind first.
You can only have so many retired Yankees. All right, let's put our what's a mystic ball? What's the thing called? The thing that fortune tellers use.
I have no idea.
Fortune telling snow globe, whatever. We're getting that out. We're gonna play some
it?
fortune teller.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay, while you do that, I'll explain what we're about to do. We will each take turns being the fortune teller. We'll ask each other questions about what they foresee happening in the future. Then that fortune teller will tell us exactly what's going to happen. Did you find it, by the way?
I'm looking right now, but it's. What should I Google? It said fortune teller hat. I don't know what you want to put like.
Fortune teller ball.
It says like gold turban hat. Fortune teller ball. Let me hold on.
It's like a globe of some kind. They look at it. It lights up. Generally, it lights up.
Crystal. It says crystal ball.
Crystal ball. Crystal ball. That's it. Done. That's definitely it. Okay, so
Trev,
get your crystal ball out because I have to ask you a very important thing that I need to know about the future. Colin Kaepernick just signed an insane deal. Looking into your crystal ball, will that work out in the long run for the 49ers? Will it be a good deal, or is this going to be a travesty?
So I actually think this is a really team-friendly deal, one that will work out really well for the Niners long term. I think it was smart to invest in him now, put faith in him, make him feel better about his loyalty to the team, about not having to have it hang over his head for the next year. But the reason this is such a good team-friendly deal is because there's some weird clauses in here that you wouldn't expect out of most contracts. Now they say that that 60 whatever million's guaranteed, but really what happened is he had to take out a $20 million insurance policy, which I never heard before for a pro contract, where if he gets a career-ending injury, he has to reimburse the Niners $20 million of that guarantee. Additionally, he could be cut after every year during the contract for a non-injury reason. So if he's not performing well, he can literally be cut next year. Additionally, there's de-escalators in his contract. So although it says he's supposed to be making like a little under $21 million a year, up to $2 million of that he could lose each year if there's some pretty crazy things he has to hit to get that money. He either has to make the Super Bowl, be all pro, or set a couple other benchmarks, or he loses $2 million in a year in his contract. So a lot of this contract was designed to make him and his agents look really good, but it really helps the Niners long term. So I think it's a phenomenal contract. I think the Niners won't regret it. Do I think he deserves this much money at this moment? Probably not, but we've seen it with Flacco and a bunch of other players. You know, if this is his breakout year, he wins a Super Bowl, the Niners are going to be pretty happy that they don't have to deal with the kind of contract they gave that Flacco got, because it's a much different contract, even though the numbers seem comparable.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. The person who likes that number the most is Andrew Luck, I would think.
Yeah, and the thing is a lot of these teams that, like, you know, people say, oh, this is going to hurt the Niners, but who's their biggest rival? It's the Seahawks, and the Seahawks are going to have to pay Russell Wilson a very comparable contract in the near future. He's only 1 year behind Kaepernick. He's already won a Super Bowl. His agents are definitely going to want more money than Kaepernick. You know, I've been seeing a lot of stuff saying, oh, Russell Wilson's more of a team guy, like he won't demand a deal like that. That, in my opinion, yeah, right, if you don't think Russell Wilson's going to demand a deal like that. It's not just Russell Wilson. You know, his agents always have a big deal in this. They're always whispering things in their players' heads. And there's no way their agents want to have to say, oh, we couldn't get him as much money as Colin Kaepernick.
Yep. When one guy gets paid, so do a whole bunch more.
So you want to move on to the next question? I think that's...
I think we covered that one. Really good job. Cover that front and back.
So our next question is still in the NFL, looking at the quarterbacks that were drafted in this year's NFL draft, first and second round. We had Teddy Bridgewater, we had Blake Bortles, we had Johnny Manziel, and we had Derek Carr. Who do you see in your fortune teller crystal ball playing at some point this year? Not for like a quarter, but actually starting games.
It's a tough one because who do I think should play starting games? I don't think one of them should, but I think that 3 of them will. I think that Blake Bortles will. I think Manziel has no business starting yet. He's too young, and I think he needs to learn a lot more. but there's going to be too much pressure to have him play because I don't think the Browns are going to do that well. So he's going to start a game.
I really do like I'm blanking on his name right now, but who was the starter last year for the Browns?
Hoyer.
Yeah. I really like him. I was in a kind of cool football pool last year. I don't know if you ever played in one of these, but you pick three
Survivor.
teams. Yeah, no, it's not Survivor. There's 10 people and everyone picks 3 teams, and this MIT mathematician calculated based on, like, let's say you have the first pick, then you have like the 14th and the 20. It's not like an exact thing. It's not snake style like a regular fantasy draft. It's calculated to even it out. So each person picks 3 teams, and then those 3 teams, you want them all to win, and whoever has won the most games of their 3 teams at the end of the year gets the whole pot. Does that make sense?
Wow. Yeah.
So as an example, my 3 teams I picked the Patriots with my first pick, which was like number 5 overall. And then I picked the Chiefs with my 16th pick, and I picked the Browns 23 or something. That's like the way that it was calculated. If the weight of if you have the 5th pick, then you don't pick again till the 16th. Does that make sense?
Somehow it does.
Yeah. So I picked the we're getting way off topic right now, but I picked the Chiefs, Browns, and Patriots, so the Chiefs were a huge pick for me. But the point of this is I'm taking a long time to get to the point. But the point is that I was following the Browns a lot because I wanted them to win. And when Hoyer was quarterback, I really thought they were going to be a great team for me last year. And then he had that freak ACL injury. Point being, out of all this crap, I really think he's a good quarterback. And if there's one quarterback I see, and I don't know why I'm even talking right now because you're supposed to be predicting the future. I kind of rudely cut you off, but this is supposed to be your moment in the spotlight.
It's okay.
But getting back to the point again, I think that if he stays healthy, that although there's going to be a ton of pressure for Manziel, that it might not be Manziel's year. Sorry about that, Tommy.
No, it's okay. I mean, I'm just telling you what's going to happen because I'm the fortune teller. So I don't choose this gift. I'm not saying what I think should happen or, looking back in the future. I'm in the future right now. I'm just telling you. Yeah. I'm already there. So I'm just telling you. I'm just trying to enlighten you. But you can say what you want though. I think that Derek Carr will start. I do not think Teddy Bridgewater will. I think Teddy Bridgewater will be the only one of them that does not actually get to start a game.
And what's one reason why Teddy Bridgewater has a better chance of being successful than any of these other quarterbacks?
I didn't say that. I just said that he's not going to start a game.
I said that. Now I'm playing. If you're in the future, I want you to. You're supposed to know this. I actually have an answer for you. So
I didn't hear you ask. I didn't hear you ask me. Why? I don't think he's going to be the most successful.
No, I didn't say he's going to be the most successful. I said, why does he have a better chance to be the most successful? Why does he have a better chance to be the most successful?
Because he's going to sit out a year.
No.
And because he's the best running back in football.
No, those are both good though.
What is your go?
Because he has Norv Turner.
Norv Turner. That's true. He's got a great quarterback track record.
Norv Turner works wonders for quarterbacks. He's always been a better offensive coordinator than head coach. So that's one of the main reasons why I think that Teddy Bridgewater has a good shot to at least have a long-term career in the NFL.
Does that make you worried about Hoyer now that he doesn't have Norv?
No, Hoyer's a different beast.
Okay, I don't think Hoyer's ever been called a different beast before in his life. So you got to make sure to tweet that at him because I'm sure it'll make you happy. Anyway, time for you to get your crystal ball back again. We're gonna send you to halfway across the world. Qatar having some problems with the ethics of how they got that World Cup bid. Now they're gonna have to do a revote. It's all kind of messy. Trevor, is there actually gonna be a World Cup played at Qatar?
Oh man, this is a tough one because there was so much money poured into the important people at FIFA who had a vote to give Qatar the World Cup. But I don't know. I think when we look into 2022, that the World Cup will be in the U.S. That's going to be my bold vision into the crystal ball. And the reason I say that is because if this was a country that was corrupt and had given FIFA a bunch of money but was a better place to host the World Cup, then I might still buy it. But this is a terrible place to host the World Cup. When your average temperature is over 100 degrees, when there's only a few big cities in the country itself, like this is just not a good idea to start out with. It was clear for the start. So far, FIFA's Vice President Jim Boyce said he would be in favor of rerunning the vote for the 2022 World Cup if the allegations of the corruption are proven, and a bunch of news publications, including the New York Times, are basically saying they have the information to prove that right now, and they're slowly giving out that information. So I'd say yes. I'd say it's going to be in the U.S. in 2022.
I will go to that. I'm not a huge soccer guy, but I feel like I have to start watching soccer because I think that sport is growing, and I hate to say it, but you're right. I hate to admit it. We had this argument, I think, 2 years ago. I'll never forget it. And I said you were an idiot for saying that sport would grow, and it's starting to happen, and now I feel stupid. So,
time for a little who's hot, who's not. For who's hot, I got to go with, of course, the AT&T Center in San Antonio, but more importantly, Gatorade. They had some pretty witty comebacks of people tweeting about, Gatorade failing LeBron back in game one, and Gatorade was tweeting out, how he's not one of their clients and that our clients can take the heat and stuff like that. And while it was pretty witty at the time, I think they will regret it, because as great as it is to have a brand who's constantly up to date and witty on social media, what happens when LeBron no longer is a Powerade client and they want him at Gatorade? Is it just going to be a numbers thing and LeBron doesn't care? Or is it going to be the kind of thing where he remembers that, just like he remembers anything players say about him or coaches say about him, and next thing you know, he's drinking Kobe's new energy drink?
Man, I mean, I just think it's just dumb in general. I mean, they just look so bad. It's like you're a giant corporation. You're going out, you're attacking one guy. It's like, come on.
It looks bad. You don't need to do. I love when brands handle social media and they're able to respond with something funny in the right way. I forget if it was Oreos or someone had I wish I remember the brand, but someone had a really funny response to when the lights went out during the Super Bowl. There were a few brands who killed it on Twitter right after that.
Oh, I think it was Oreos. It was like still tastes good in the dark. Yeah, it was,
and that I think that's phenomenal when something like that happens. But in this case, I just think that Gatorade's trying too hard. It's like you've got the most important, probably the most valuable athlete in the world to a brand, and just because he's with Powerade right now doesn't mean he's not drinking Gatorade on the sidelines at games. Because it's the drink. Yeah.
Well, that's the ironic thing. I think he actually does drink Gatorade on the sidelines. If you watch him sitting on the sideline, he drinks something with no label. I mean, maybe it still could be Powerade. They don't want any corporate logos because of whatever sponsorships they may have, but it's very possible he doesn't drink Powerade.
I think, and they did come out and say an apology after, but I just think this is where, we talk about Twitter, it doesn't just hurt players, but it's tough because, on one end, people think it's hilarious and it's great PR for the brand. Think about how much Gatorade was talked about because of those comments. But on the other end, I mean, you definitely, I think they alienated LeBron James with that, and maybe they could come back with a huge amount of cash if they ever wanted him, but you never know with a player like that.
Not anymore, they can't.
Let's go to who's not, Tommy.
Who's not hot is Manny Machado. He, on Saturday, got tagged. It would, to me, look like a pretty normal tag by Donaldson of the A's. He freaked out, spiked his helmet, made a huge scene. Then the next day, Sunday, pitch comes inside at him. It's a 10-0 game at this point. The Orioles are losing. He doesn't appear too happy with it. The next pitch, he throws his bat. He swings and quote unquote, acted like he accidentally threw his bat at Donaldson at third base. Not smooth. I got a problem with that.
There it is. Theirs are not hot. Tommy, one more thing.
You can't just throw. You can't be throwing your bat around. It's not the same thing as getting hit. When a pitcher pinpoints you in the rear end and hits you with a fastball.
It's kind of a perfect name to go along with an act like that,
You can't just throw your bat. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Well, actually, no. The craziest thing I've ever heard was what Steve Colburn said. But what I'm saying, that is just unfathomable. I mean,
I'd probably go with Mike Tyson eating Evander Holyfield's ear off is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
But see, that for some reason to me does not seem as out of line as throwing your bat. I don't know why. It just doesn't seem. In boxing, there's always.
Let me get this straight. You think that it's more normal for someone to eat someone else's flesh off their ear versus in a very small moment, a quick decision has to be made and tempers are flaring and suddenly you're throwing a bat and immediately after you're like, wow, what did I just do? Versus when you're chewing on someone's ear, that doesn't happen in 2 seconds. That's more of a, I don't know. How long do you think it took to chew his ear off? Like 15, 20 seconds?
It was a quick little bite. He just did it really hard. I would argue it was the exact opposite. So Machado gets the ball thrown inside, and then I think in his head he's like, I'm going to throw my bat.
It was 90. It was
not. I think that was a premeditated thing. I think
probably 1994 when that ear thing happened. Okay, so my memory isn't perfect. If it was a quick bite, then more credit to Tyson. I thought it was more of a chomping that he kept going after, and finally he got it. I thought he had to make it weak first.
No, I think it was. I'm going to look that up right now, but I'm pretty sure it was just a quick little. I mean, they were kind of. You know, when boxers kind of they get tied up, you know, and then they got to get separated.
No, you could be right. I guess when I think of the physics of eating someone's ear off, I think of it. You're kind of wearing it down. You know, your teeth aren't really sharp.
Well, it wasn't a full ear. It was just a quick.
Yeah, but
it was just
he
a bite.
guzzled down that piece. It was. I mean, it looked pretty brutal the way his ear was ripped off. It was a chunk for sure. Well, I know it wasn't his whole ear, but still.
It was a weird moment in sports. It was not a normal thing. But yeah, I don't think we ought to get out of here. Are we forgetting? Are we forgetting anything before we get out of here? Because I don't want to think about humans eating other humans right now.
The only other thing I was going to bring up, but we could talk about this more next episode. We definitely talk about this more episode. Is I'm just starting to realize how much I love hockey. I'm literally more into this hockey finals than the basketball finals. Even when the games are close, I just don't. In the NBA, I don't really seem to care that much the first half. The hockey, I'm into it the whole time. And it makes me just wonder, is ESPN ever going to bring the NHL back? Because that's the reason I don't watch enough hockey. I don't even know where to watch it. And I want my Wednesday night hockey back, you know? That's what I want, Tommy. And maybe that could be a final prediction. Maybe we'll talk about it next show. But I want hockey back on ESPN.
Well, Wednesday Night Hockey did have a great theme song.
I love that theme song. God, if this was back to... Maybe I'll play that to sign off the show, you know? I think I will.
I'm going to start playing it for myself right now. Actually, no, I'm not, because I don't want to mess up the audio.
Yeah, I got it. I'll throw it in there to close it off. We throw it in there right now.
That'd be awesome.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Same time, same place next week. For Trevor Baru.
I'm Tommy Morris.
See you next week on Sportsmanlike Conduct.
Yep.
Out.